All right, we're back. Morse Code Podcast episode. Oh shit, I'm like 152.
I think it's 153.
Okay, we'll just edit and fix it. Hey, it's Nick Rudman from
How we
Underdog
doing?
Fantasy. How are you, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, same. Me too. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Let's get into it. I want to give the floor to you. A lot of our listeners, believe it or not, are CPFs with that rascal Whiskers, and I've probably heard you on that here to argue. I know you're floating around the Twitterverse doing your thing, but before we get too into it, why don't you catch? We also have a wide majority of people who do live under a rock. We can find that from our demographics, looking at the numbers. So catch us up to a little speed about Underdog Fantasy, your role at Underdog Fantasy, and all the cool shit you guys have going on over there.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try to do a brief history. So Underdog was started about 2 years ago. We do daily fantasy sports. We do season-long fantasy football and a game called Best Ball, which is no management. Like there's no trades, there's no waivers. You just draft a team that's really deep and then it plays it out. And the founding team almost all worked at a company called Draft. Draft was a very similar game. We got bought by Paddy Power Betfair. We got rolled into FanDuel. We all hated working at FanDuel. It's a huge company, corporate bullshit. We all left. Our non-compete ran up, and they had shut down Draft. So we're like, we're just going to run this back, and started Underdog. Underdog is now sort of a bigger and badder version of what Draft was.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what we're doing at Underdog is content. When I say that it's from the team that started Draft, that was 8 people. Underdog is now over 70.
Nice.
So, yeah, growing pretty fast. It's been a fun ride. We have cool investors like Kevin Durant, Adam Schefter, Mark Cuban, Chainsmokers, Trey Young, and
The band Chainsmokers. Not just a bunch of random Chainsmokers.
No, I'm sure a lot of those guys do smoke cigs. Future, Nas, Gunna.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I've never met or talked to any of these people, but they are investors.
Well, you know Jam.
I know Jam.
He's about as close to those people as he's listed as.
And I know Tyler.
And you know Tyler. Yep, that's fair. He's up there too. No, that's cool, man. I didn't know about the big name investment pool of guys. That's sick.
Thanks.
That's good company.
And then we've gotten into the content stuff, and I was telling Soapy before we hopped on here.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we decided we wanted to do podcasts or anything like that, that Tyler was just the best. I've just been such a huge Tyler fan for so long. We're very lucky to be able to work with him. I just DM'd him on Patreon and was like, let's do something.
That's what I was going to ask. And then I know you said you mentioned this before I was able to hop on. How did that relationship come to be? I guess like the business part. You knew Tyler before?
No, I didn't know Tyler at all.
Okay.
I figured there was an opportunity just because he was only doing his Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't locked up anywhere, which is like the hardest part of finding talent is everyone has a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wrote him a letter on Patreon being like, hey, I work for a fantasy company. We'll basically let you do whatever the hell you want. But we just want you to do a podcast for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty hard sell, honestly. He has it pretty good with his Patreon. Like he's just doing his own thing. He's his own boss. And he's still and basically his own boss. He does whatever he wants with the content stuff.
Yeah. And
then after, I don't know, however many months of doing Not Here to Argue, it was like pretty comfortable and we're all good at working together. We're like, we should do more. We want to do a live radio show. And so we just started the Trill Withers show with Trill Withers.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. That just kicked off yesterday. That is, I was thinking the other day, I mean, that is going from, I guess this is more about Tyler, or I guess like all you guys, but going from like a weekly hour or two podcast to 3 hours a day of live content, that's a big jump. But I think I guess everyone would agree that if there's anyone who can just like hit record on a mic and talk for 3 hours a day without it getting like drawn out, Tyler, Jam, Sex J, yourself are probably decent guys to take that on.
Yeah, Tyler can really fill.
Yes, he's a volume shooter.
Yeah, he is. But yeah, I had this vision sort of I wanted Tyler, while people work, to narrate Twitter to them.
Yep.
Like today they did the red pill, blue pill meme. It was like Tyler's timeline all day yesterday. And that's really what I had hoped it would be. And I'm so glad that's sort of the direction it's going, just because I can't read Tyler's Twitter all day when I'm working, but I can listen to it.
Yeah, that's fair. And just
you'll never get any work done if you do.
No, that sounds like hell. Just to be clear, you're saying this before we recorded. Your role at Underdog, you are specifically the person who takes everyone's money, correct? Who loses?
In some ways, I'm not the risk team. I know I'm often associated with the risk team. I actually am not the risk team. The risk team is a guy named Matt Albert, who's very sharp and hard to beat. But I'm the GM of fantasy. So I sort of oversee the fantasy side of the business. Yeah. Underdog will be opening a sports book in time. And that will be obviously a whole separate wing of the business in which I'm not really involved. But right now, I sort of come up with new games. I sort of manage the games. I do some stuff for our marketing. I do some content stuff. I do some customer support. You'll always see me like answering questions, people on Twitter, people yelling at us for them losing.
But
very responsive on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle before I forget to ask you later?
The Nick Rudman.
Of course.
I'm endlessly responsive, and that is basically a business thing. I find FanDuel and DraftKings are so impossible to reach and so opaque that I want to be the opposite of that. If anybody ever tweets at us, they're going to get a response.
Yep. Good stuff. I had a quick question. I know before I pass over to you, Soapy. So, and real quick too, I guess I didn't think about this earlier, but you mentioned the sports book. So, I mean, not for nothing, everything on Underdog now, it's more or less pretty much everything except individual games, no? And maybe like future bets.
We do player prop parlays. Yep. Which is not gambling. It's fantasy.
Correct.
It's a game of skill.
Games of skill.
Yeah.
Games of Skillington.
It's funny. That used to be so sensitive. It's really not. Like you could call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But like in 2017, when they were going to cancel fantasy, it was very sensitive.
Yeah. You win prizes, not
correct.
Not money, not bets. There's cash prizes.
So yeah, we do season-long fantasy, daily fantasy, and player prop parlays.
Yeah, those are fun.
But we'll keep adding to our suite of games. We definitely have some stuff we want to do. We'll keep adding games.
Because my question was, being actually in the business side of it, what would you say? Right, I'm sure you'd agree. Probably what? Actually, you tell me. How long has like the daily fantasy been just a thing in general? 5, no more than 10 years, right?
Like I think 2015 is the year that DraftKings and FanDuel spent $500 million on like ESPN commercials.
Okay. That sounds about right.
And what's crazy is like people thought gambling would kill daily fantasy, but it's not. It's still growing. Like DraftKings and FanDuel are still dominating. In terms of just how much money they make from daily fantasy. So it's good. I love fantasy sports. I'm not a daily fantasy guy. Like I don't play salary cap. I never played FanDuel and DraftKings in my life because that is a math puzzle that I'll never win. I like games that rely on player takes. Like I like Deebo Samuel. He's cool, so I'm going to pick it. Not salary cap. This guy cost $5,700 or whatever.
Yeah, far too much math. As far as like the landscape goes, would you still say, as far as like general popularity, do you think that's still more on the season-long fantasy side as opposed to daily? Do you think daily's starting to quickly catch up to that? And what about like an outcast, like say like the next like 5 years? How those two compare? I
wonder what's sort of bigger just on the numbers, people that play normal season-long fantasy football versus people that just play salary cap.
Right.
I kind of think salary cap, I mean, everyone plays season-long fantasy football, but how many people like actually care or like put money on, like in an office? Like I'm sure every office in America has a fantasy football league. So that'll always be king. But in terms of making money, daily fantasy just dominates because they're doing millions and millions and millions of dollars a day.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the season-long fantasy is all it's hard to get. It's all off the record, obviously. It's not like you do it through like a third party.
Like I'm sure Yahoo has a shitload of season-long fantasy leagues, but like in terms of a business, I don't know how much that really matters.
Right. Now, there's something about daily. It's also like the great hedge against a season-long fantasy league anyway. So that's all you have, and you lose Derrick Henry like week 2, it's like fantasy season's over. Well, not anymore. You can pick 10 new people every week. You can do Is freaking Jamar Chase going to get plus or minus 96 receiving yards, whatever it may be? That's the fun part of it. And actually, like, thinking out loud, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a good way to like kind of get people into fantasy sports or even just sports in general. I would assume it's way more easier to pick up and do, and probably more fun for like a maybe not so diehard of a fan than having to draft a team in August and manage it every week, as opposed to just picking, I think this player is going to do this as opposed to this every week. I think that's a lot of fun.
Totally. I mean, even our season-long format, which is called Best Ball, which is a tiny game. Like no one's ever heard of this game. I mean, it's growing immensely, but still no one's ever heard of it. You draft 18 players and you don't do anything else. And then at the end of the week, we start your best possible lineup every week. So we think that the best part of the fantasy football season is the draft. We want you to be able to draft every day all summer. So you draft 1,000 teams and then you sort of have a portfolio of players. And it's like, all right, I've rostered 35% of my teams have Jamar Chase. So like, that's my guy. So like your portfolio sort of becomes your team that you cheer for. And we do it in a tournament setting where you can win $1 million. We actually, a guy just won $1 million. Huge Bills fan, hates the Patriots. I'm not thrilled.
Don't pay
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, find some fine print where you don't need to pay.
I'm sure there's a loophole in there. So
yeah.
But yeah, there's all kinds of ways to play. I don't like the salary cap because I don't get emotionally tied to my players. When I draft them, I get emotionally tied to them, and I can like plant my flag and say that's my guy.
Yeah. Good. So.
Yeah, I think that's perfect because I fucking hate getting like trade proposals during the middle of a regular fantasy season. I'm like, no, I drafted this guy, so I'm kind of like connected to him, and I want to see him succeed. So
yeah, and they're usually all
like,
terrible.
Keeping him.
Yeah,
they're usually all terrible. But
no average Joe in like a season-long league submits a proposal that isn't any benefit to the other party ever, like whatsoever.
I get trade happy and send out bad trades that are bad for me just because I want to do something.
I'm the same. Yeah, if it's like a pretty like lame league and nothing's moving, I'll throw something. I'll throw a little bread at the birds and see if anything bites, just for shits and giggles.
Speaking of which, good segue here by Dan. With Not Here to Argue, Jam gets so much time to go bird watching. What does Underdog allow you to do with your paid time off? Because I feel like that's kind of unfair.
There is not a whole lot of time off these days.
Yeah.
We are growing very fast and working very hard.
Good answer.
Yeah, I honestly don't do fucking anything.
Nice.
I do fantasy sports.
Could be worse. You could be doing a lot worse things with your time. Do we want to talk about the Patriots game over the weekend? Or
well, real quick, I did have a question about the show. So I was telling Nick before he hopped on that I was able to catch part of yesterday's stream, and we'll be working on watching today's a little bit later. When you guys, when you guys do like get a call-in aspect, is that something that you think Sex J and Tyler would look forward to?
I imagine we will. I would say we'll definitely add a call-in aspect to the Trill show.
Okay, I will definitely be calling it.
I want it to feel like radio. Radio has people that call it.
Sure. Soapy from the car every day at like 2:30.
I want some people to be able to say long time first time.
Oh yeah, that's a great line.
It's the best.
I've never said it. Soapy's called into a few shows. You've called into Felger and Maz and stuff. I never have.
I was gonna say you guys both live in Boston?
I live in Maine, but like New England.
Oh, where in Maine?
Yeah, Old Orchard Beach.
Oh,
I'll DM you the address.
My parents live in New York.
Oh no shit, nice. Yeah, we moved. My wife's from Cape Elizabeth area originally, so we moved back up here from Seacoast, New Hampshire, like 5 or 6 years ago.
Nice.
Are you in more of the Boston area?
Well, I live in Miami now.
No, okay.
But,
gotcha.
So he's in the Florida area.
But I grew up in Charlestown.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
The home of Nick Friedman.
Is it?
Yeah,
I'm guessing. Oh, okay.
Oh, that would make sense. Well, the one thing we didn't mention so far is you're also a big Patriots fan. That's come through on your episodes with Tyler. He doesn't seem to care for it all that much. But what are you going to do? Again, I don't know how much you want to spend on this. Any takeaways from the Bills game on Saturday? Impressed with what you saw from the New England Patriots going into next season?
I feel like I am a bad fan saying this. It's the second week in a row that I did not watch the whole game. I didn't watch the whole Miami game, and I didn't watch the whole Bills game. Since the Colts game, it's just immediately clear if we fall behind, it's fucking over.
Yeah, correct.
And I said, on every platform I can say it, if we go down 7-0 and they get the ball back, the game is extremely over. We went down 7-0, gave the ball back, and I turned it off. That said, I still know what happened, and
they scored every time.
Right. If I have anything good to say, Mac showed up. Like, he was not a complete joke. He showed some heart. Those first 2 drives, like, he was fucking pulling shit out of his ass.
Yeah.
The Hunter Henry play and the run were amazing. And if the only thing that came from this entire season is we found Mac Jones, that's pretty damn good. And I'm sure a lot of people will say, what do you mean you found Mac Jones? Mac Jones sucks. They're just wrong. Like, it's an ignorant opinion. He's actually quite good. Or he's certainly good enough. So
I would agree.
We fucking suck. And there's a lot of work to do, and our defense is terrible, and I'm down on Belichick.
Defense is old. Defense is just old and
what happened
slow
to Judon?
Boy, I don't know.
Dude, he just ended up chasing Josh Allen from behind like half the game. And I feel like that's how he was the last
month and a half.
Yeah, that's how he was, just chasing every quarterback from behind. Like, and the defense came out as fraudulent the past. Like, I hate sounding like talk radio. Well, I don't hate sounding like talk radio when it's compared to the Trill Withers show. But like, they definitely came out as fucking frauds the last 4 or 5 games because they couldn't stop the run. And then, that just set up a pass.
Or the pass.
Dude, the first Josh Allen touchdown, I 100% thought that he was just like throwing that into the 5th row. And then all of a sudden, Dawson Knox like catches it in the back.
Yeah, Dawson Knox looks like Tony Gonzalez, apparently, when it's like any sort of competition against New England. Yeah, that Judon, a lot of people I've heard have put a hard like line in the sand at the bye week, which is fair. That was before the Colts game, right?
Yep.
Not to go like on a like tinfoil conspiracy hat, but that is a very weird like before and after. Like,
it's extremely weird. And I've never heard the Patriots players or any players talk so openly about what a terrible week of practice they had during that bye week.
It makes it sound a lot more
that bye week.
For sure. That clip of it was Matt, right, who's the first one to kind of like hint at it. That's very telling. At the time, it's like, all right, whatever. But yeah, it's night and day. And
what the hell?
Like Soapy said, Judon was. I think I said this earlier. There was a time in the season when Judon was a depoy candidate. Bill Belichick, I thought, was a lock for Coach of the Year. Mac Jones was like minus 350 for Rookie of the Year, and now that's 0-3, not even close. Like that was a month ago.
It's weird. But I don't know if it's a COVID thing. Like Judon had COVID and then sucked, but like it's the whole team. And like I think by all reports he was fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it didn't make any sense the way that you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, you're good.
It didn't make any sense why Mac Jones said the team was feeling sorry for themselves after that week of practice going into the Colts game. And that Colts game immediately looked like they were back to the September Patriots, where he had a pick in the red zone or very close to it, a bunch of unforced errors and penalties by like both sides of the line. Could barely complete a pass.
Calling. The Brandon Bolden runs on 3rd down. It was to a T, the September Patriots. Like exactly what you said.
I don't know what to think of McDaniels. I feel like he's the most confusing and most polarizing, coordinator in the league, non-head coach in the league. Because
I've never really cared one way or the other. Like it's Belichick. McDaniels can come or go. I really don't care.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think it's kind of whom I know I'm missing one in the middle. It was Charlie Weiss, someone, and then McDaniels. Was it
Bill O'Brien?
Bill O'Brien for a little bit. It's the same thing. I mean, obviously Brady was there, but it's the same difference. I mean, they're gonna sprinkle in some trick plays here and there. When in doubt, Brady can just do whatever he wants to do. But now that you don't have that as like a safety net, I mean, that's like putting it lightly, safety net of Tom Brady. the play calling does stand out now. And there's one drive, you nailed it. Like 7-0 might as well be 50-0. Like in that type of game in prime time. I think it was 14-0. And it was just the same. It was the drive when they punted at the 45-yard line on fourth and inches. I'm
it
pretty
was
sure it was
three straight
run plays
runs.
going up. Yeah, that's
three straight
unacceptable.
runs, and then they punted from midfield. And it was like, dude, you guys do realize the game might be over at this point. And it was. And
you show no signs of stopping Josh Allen, like literally zero. So to Nick's point too, it's like Mac looked decent up until then. That first drive pick was killer. You're right. That was a great looking drive. Couple of third down conversions. And then it's a great play by Micah Hyde. But as soon as that ball was picked, that was it. That was just such like a not our favorite term, but just so deflating because you knew they were going to score the next drive. You know, like it was inevitable. Like I said, 7-0, that type of night might as well be 28-0, which it shortly was.
Josh Allen's pretty good.
Josh Allen's really freaking good. Like, I know you guys actually, this is kind of timely. They talked about tiering quarterbacks over the last couple of days. I'll ask, like, is your tier one kind of the chalk, like Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes? Nick?
It depends if we're talking about today for the past 10 years, and if I can sort of remove
prior to Saturday's game.
I hate Pat Mahomes.
I was gonna say that.
I hate Pat Mahomes.
Okay.
How much is Jackson Mahomes to blame for that?
I don't like Jackson Mahomes, but not that much. It's the better than Brady bullshit from when we've seen the best of Pat Mahomes. He had the best situation anyone can possibly have. He did some cool sidearm throws that are fun to watch, and people lost their mind. He's pretty darn good. He's not. I don't think he's substantively better than Josh Allen at all.
Let's just gonna say, I think Josh Allen either has to be the guy, especially now, right at the door of tier 2 to tier 1, or he's just in tier 1. Like I'm fine either way. If someone says he's a top 5 quarterback, I'm not gonna argue that. No chance.
People go crazy over Pat Mahomes' 5,000 yards. You guys know how many yards and touchdowns Tom Brady threw for this year?
Decent amount.
I know it was like 4,500 yards, right?
5,300 yards and 43 touchdowns.
Yeah, he led the league, right?
Yeah, he was like 100 yards off Peyton Manning's record. So I've had enough of the Pat Mahomes BS. Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the league. He's an MVP of the league. Aaron Rodgers is quite good. Mm-hmm. He won one Super Bowl. He basically should be forgotten in history because one ring. Yep. Josh Allen's really good. We'll see. I still think the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's tough. I don't know.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, it sounds like I'm arguing with you, but I do think they're gonna win the Super Bowl because I just can't justify any of the other 3 teams beating them. Rams, no. I'm not sure the Packers are gonna get by San Francisco, and even if they do, there's no scientific data to show me that Tom Brady will go to Lambeau and lose. So yeah, fire the cannons. I agree with you. Go ahead, so.
As much as I would love to agree with, so I have a point and then a question. Much as I would love to agree with you, Nick, the Rudman, I don't know. I feel like at least talent-wise, Mahomes is like generationally talented. But you're right. Maybe we have seen the best of him because for all those plays that he was making a couple of years ago, like the crazy throws and whatnot, throwing across his body, across the field, like he had way more turnovers this year. So maybe that was just like eventually it's going to even out.
Yeah, he didn't have a great year,
but
especially compared to his usual years.
No, it was definitely a down year, and even when their offense was on this year, still didn't have the same feeling as like remember last year that game of the Chiefs versus the Bucs where Tyreek Hill had like 200 yards in the first quarter
at halftime.
My question, I've asked this to Dan before. Do you think that I feel like the 2 fakest teams in our time of watching the Patriots dominance has been number 1, the Steelers, but number 2, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, because of what you said. Like he won the 1 Super Bowl. He's won a few MVPs, but if you ever listen to him talk, I feel like all he cares about is the individual stuff. Breaking Favre's record earlier this year. And every time they usually get to the divisional game or the NFC title game and then lose. But no one seems to talk about that. He's always heralded as one of the greats when it's really he's a regular season front runner who's great then, not so much in the playoffs.
If the question is who's the fakest team with the last 10, 15
20 years?
Like,
yeah, sure.
It's
Since
Drew
Brady.
Brees. It's Drew Brees and the Saints in a landslide.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I can't stand Drew Brees.
But that's where I think Rodgers is headed.
Yeah, but at least, I mean, Rodgers is not an indoor stat padding, 5'9", fake diamond buying. You know, Drew Brees got duped with fake diamonds.
What do you mean?
He bought millions of dollars of fake diamonds.
That adds up for someone who has a ceremony done in the first quarter for a record that then got broken a year later. That adds up.
I hold that against him a lot. If you get duped by fake diamonds, like, I'm out. But yeah, the ceremony, everyone giving such a huge shit about this record. You know what it is? And like the Katrina moment in the Dome was very nice, like however many years ago that was. I feel like people just sort of never moved on from that in terms of thinking that Drew Brees is like the savior of the country.
I also think people forget that when Drew Brees won a Super Bowl, his defense was being paid to take out the opposing quarterbacks.
And it was the Terry Porter pick 6, right?
Yeah. I think that might be a little asterisk. They had Brett Favre in an ambulance by the third quarter of like the NFC Championship game. And the Terry Porter pick 6, the luckiest onside kick recovery maybe of all time. It's a lot. I hear you. And then every other year, I think they kind of used last 3 or 4 years, they got not screwed in the playoffs, but something crazy happened. The PI and the Stephon Diggs play. It's just some quarterbacks just aren't like it's. I think the GOAT term gets thrown around too around. Most quarterbacks are just, there's a lot of really, really good quarterbacks. Drew Brees is really good. Aaron Rodgers is really good. I think Tom Brady just kind of like, it's just so silly to compare other guys because the next closest guy isn't even close. If it's Aaron Rodgers, if it's Manning, if it's Brees, that's great. But like, one thing I love about like the Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, they always have those stupid ass graphics, but most of them are like Brady here. And then like the classic stat is like next closest 50,000 yards, like whatever it is, like 30 wins less. And it's just like, what are we talking about?
I think I probably think of Rodgers the same way that a lot of people think of Mahomes, where like, I'm cool calling Rodgers like really, really, really good at throwing the football.
Right. Yeah.
And Mahomes obviously is pretty darn good at it too, but the praise has just been too much for him. Rodgers just sort of plays for a loser franchise that doesn't win anything.
Yeah, that's tough. And
that's what happens when you don't have an owner.
I guess so. Publicly traded company. And a lot of it, like shout out Mike McCarthy too. Another great Mike McCarthy game over the weekend.
What a fucking loser.
What a fucking loser.
How do you let that guy be Rodgers' coach for so long?
I don't know. I don't know if he makes it through this season. I think Tyler was talking about the other day. Tyler thought he shouldn't have been able to leave the stadium employed. And I don't think it would have been crazy.
Tyler was saying that Mike McCarthy is going to be awesome to hang out with. And that's why.
Yeah. Must be a real good hang. Yeah. A real good, like sit down. You must have had like a really good glass of bourbon with Jerry and just somehow got, what was his contract? Obviously more than 1 year.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I'm sure
2 or 3 years at least. I don't
rich.
know. But yeah, that's tough. It's just like for a franchise like that, where there's the Cowboys, that is, where it's so much heavily weighted on championships and like glory, and you have a good regular season. They had a really good regular season, and you're out in the first round consistently. It's just so hard to have confidence in those teams. And
their window is slammed shut.
Oh God, yeah. Zeke's dead.
And his contract is very alive.
Zeke, I forgot what he did. God. He signed a big one recently.
His contract, oh yeah, I think he's getting $18 million a year for the next 3 years. He has quarterback money for the next 3 years.
Because he had a big holdout a couple summers ago, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think 2 years ago. Yeah, he got big money. That's right. Big money in a decent amount of years. I think we were talking on the show before. Running back's tough because if you look at like a real, not even like elite, like Pro Bowl running backs, what would you say like a Pro Bowl running back's like prime is? Maybe 4 years, 5 tops, unless you're like a freak. That's a rookie contract. Right. So if you get drafted by a shit organization, like that's your career. Like guys like Saquon, who else? I guess I was going to say Derrick Henry, but the Titans actually turned out to be good. But someone like Zeke, you just put that, like McCaffrey got big money and then he's been hurt ever since.
Kamara has a
It's
lot of
tough.
money. He did not have
Kamara
a great
got,
year.
and it's like I said, there are outliers. Like Kamara deserves to get paid. McCaffrey at
Totally.
the time deserved to got paid. Henry, I'm sure, will get paid. Did he get paid recently? Derrick Henry?
I
forget his deal.
He get tagged.
I feel like
He's
he's
gotta be
older than
locked
I
up.
think he is because he was a backup for like a solid 2 years, right? I think he was on the DeMarco Murray Titans teams, actually.
He signed a 4-year, $50 million deal in July 2020.
That's right.
Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
I remember
fine.
comparing him to like an NBA, I don't know, man.
Yeah, he makes Mason Plumlee money for
There's
being
one
the
in
best
a
running
million
back in the league.
guys. There's one in a million guys that are worth it. And Derrick Henry's so unique. But like the pass catchers don't bother me. Kamara and CMC, like you said.
Yeah.
Because those guys can basically play wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, another big one is like Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, Todd Gurley. I think had one of the biggest drop-offs where
that was bizarre.
He was like unprecedented and unanimously number one in fantasy drafts for a couple of years. And then that second or third year, he was off.
Unemployed.
Yeah.
It's just health, right? Like just his knees or whatever.
I think so.
Or his hip is just like, it's like an 80-year-old lady. It's like degenerative arthritis or something.
It is. I mean, 30 carries a game over 17 weeks or 16 games, whatever, 17 weeks, now 17. That's why I say it's not hard to realize these primes aren't very long. Like it's science. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like Derrick Henry got hurt this year. What was his injury anyway?
It's really bad. He broke his list frank, I think.
He's had a cool 2 months starting Sunday.
He's gonna be playing this week.
Yeah.
I mean, how about Cam Akers last night? Cam Akers almost killing people 5 months out of an Achilles.
Yeah.
It looks terrifying.
It is weird how that's changed. That was a no-brainer. You're out for the season. Like not even a consideration. I remember the big one was when AP came back. That he came back from injury, and that's when he broke the record, I'm pretty sure, right? I think he broke the rushing record the year after he came back. Or he came back and had a great season. Yeah,
he definitely balled out. You're right. That was the first time people were like, oh, ACL doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Even like Kevin Durant in basketball, there's that video when he broke it again in the finals, and you literally see his calf like splitting in half or like shaking and splitting. And now he's like an MVP candidate as usual, like business as usual, as soon as you get off. It's crazy. And the other one I wanted to mention, going back to Brady, I think we said this last week or something. Say Brady wins MVP, which I don't think he will, but I think he can and probably should. I still think Rodgers wins. Winning that at age 44, it almost like, not sarcastically, it like shifts the perception of like time and it can change the whole league. Because now you can justify drafting a quarterback and saying there's a chance this guy can play for 25 years, especially if it's just getting, because 44 now, you draft a kid at 20 now, 44, it might be 46, 47, 20 years from now, which is just scary, I think, in the grand scheme of things. LeBron, same argument.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Medicine is just so crazy. Like, just go see Alex Guerrero.
Shout out Alex Guerrero.
Yeah, shout
100 G's and you're in. And you get all your money back if you don't like it.
I mean, it's getting kind of forgotten that even Aaron Rodgers is like 38. Like that used
all the good quarterbacks are like 40.
That used to be, all right, you should probably hang it up by now.
Yeah, that's like George Blanda.
Another really old guy. Oh, Andrew Whitworth is playing offensive line at 40 years old right now.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
Eric Weddle made a comeback.
It's so literally off the couch to play the NFL. It is interesting how different guys deal with age even nowadays. Like Big Ben is a literal corpse.
Yes.
And Aaron Rodgers is balling out of control.
Let me ask you this. Let's move on here. Quick thought on the Patriots, you being so connected with the team. Off season, from a fan's perspective, what do you want to see realistically off season from coaching staff or personnel?
I am more interested in the off season and the team building than I am the regular season. Specifically the NFL draft. I love the draft.
You're a draft guy?
I'm a huge draft guy.
Okay.
What I want from the Patriots this offseason, it's hard because we had such a crazy offseason last season. And like we don't really have any money. Miguel Benzema, Pat's Cap, the Pat's Cap genius on Twitter. He says we have $2.5 million. Other websites will tell you we have $27 million. I think he's right that we have no money. So we got to tag JC Jackson.
Pat's got to play some Underdog fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. We got to tag JC Jackson. I don't know. Can we trade for Calvin Ridley? I didn't really like Calvin Ridley, but he seems pretty good.
I would. I think I saw today he's pricey. I think he's like 11 million left, and then he's going to obviously want a contract. But it's like you have to pay good players. Like I don't really think that. I've never understood that argument. Like this guy's really good, but you're going to have to pay him. Well, yes, that's usually how it works.
Yeah, seriously. The problem is when you're paying not good players a lot of money. And I'm not saying that Jonnu Smith is not good. I don't think that he failed us. I think we failed him. But I think he's the highest paid player on the team next year, and he has to do something. I think the biggest failure of this Patriots team, the biggest failure of Josh McDaniels, was not getting the double tight end stuff to work. That's clearly what the offense was supposed to be, that we can put two tight ends and Damian Harris on the field, and we can run it or throw it. And we didn't make that work. So I would love to figure out 12 personnel. I don't think McDaniels is going to leave. I think the way that he fucked over the Colts when he took the job for 5 minutes and then left, which was hilarious and awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
I imagine that was just sour taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah, I also thought about that too. That's noteworthy. I think
he's a weird guy. Like, the way he behaved even in Denver, everyone hated him. Remember, was it Brandon Lloyd or Brandon Marshall that when Tebow was throwing the ball in practice, he would just knock it down because he didn't want to play?
Yeah, probably both of them. Yeah.
It was coming at him slow.
I don't know how flexible we are. I'd like to draft Treylon Burks. That's who I want. The wide receiver from Arkansas. He's he's like AJ Brown, DK Metcalf hybrid.
Oh. Shame if we had a chance to grab one of those guys.
Yeah. We'll draft someone else before him then.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll draft someone terrible.
I don't know. I'm like paranoid to draft a wide receiver ever since N'Keal Harry.
The worst,
I'm still sour about
draft pick of all time.
The worst. Absolute useless.
If we draft AJ Brown or Deebo Samuel, I think Tom Brady's winning Super Bowl here right now.
Maybe, but I think they could get somewhere with Mac or Cam or whoever to have some sort of weapon like that. I would agree. Deebo's just crazy. I think last year I would probably argue it was like, I can't believe they passed on DK Metcalf or even AJ Brown. Deebo separated himself at this point. He is an absolute freak. He is so fucking cool. Absolutely.
And his style of play is insane. Like, you think that he can't do this every game because he's taking like an end around for 80 yards, but he does it every game.
Continues to do it. He's a sick man. That touchdown last night or over the weekend was incredible. I was watching a clip of it today, actually, how he gets it. 5 yards, and then at the 20, the way he accelerates at the 20 is crazy. He was untouched at the 20 going through a linebacker and safety depth. Untouched as a wide receiver.
You have hopes for Patriots offseason?
I actually, before I even asked you, I already forgot what the last offseason was. You're right. Like, what are the fireworks on top of that they can do? I don't know. I mean, I'm not as big of a draft guy as you are. I'm the type who just kind of, I'll see what people whisper about online and then see what they talk about on draft day. And I'll buy in or not based off the little 30-second ESPN clip of when they like put him in the corner. More on the coaching. I think I saw you tweet this today about the running backs coach. I'm blanking on his name.
Ivan Fears.
Looks like he's gone, right?
That's interesting. A lot.
It was a heart-wrenching video.
A lot of people took that from that video. I didn't get that at all.
Oh, I did. That didn't seem to me like a traditional like end of season thing.
I had this debate with a few other people. It makes sense now that you say it. It didn't occur to me one bit. I thought that was a normal end of season sort of emotional goodbye. There was
one part that stood out. There's definitely like more long-term like goodbye verbiage. Like, you're gonna be great. Keep doing your thing. Blah blah blah. I don't know. And again, it's not like that. I mean, that's a difference. He's a good coach and he's important. Obviously, clearly important to that team and Damian Harris. But I don't know. I guess the coaching staff, to what we talked about earlier, isn't as important. I'd like to see a wide receiver. If you think it's best or most doable in the draft, that's fine. But I also don't have right in front of me. That's what I was going to say. I don't have right in front of me who's available. Well, Calvin Ridley, he's not a free agent, right? He just wants to get traded.
Yeah.
I don't know who's like a legit free agent.
I don't think we can afford a free agent.
No. No, not with $2 million. Not anyone half decent. I don't
sure we
hate
can
the
move some
receiving
stuff
core
around.
we have. I still like Bourne. I still like Myers. Aguilar was disappointing, I think I would say.
He was.
N'Keal Harry can be extradited to wherever. I don't really care. What's his deal? Is he on another year or is he done?
Yeah, he's got another year, I think. I don't even think it's time for us to pick up his 5th-year option yet. It's not a lot
It's
of
been
money.
the longest 3 years.
Seriously.
Any professional athlete.
I'm looking at who's available next year. It's Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams. Those guys are. I mean, I would take Allen Robinson. He might be cheap. He was so
I was going to say
bad.
he's probably the most gettable out of those three, I would assume. I don't see Godwin or Adams leaving unless Rodgers leaves. And
they're $1 zillion. Will Fuller, Jameson Crowder, Juju. Nobody.
Jameson Crowder would be an interesting slot guy.
I want Berrios back.
Yes, I'd like him back. Good point.
We chose Gunner over him, and I always defended that choice because even though Berrios was a good slot receiver, Gunner was first-team All-Pro kick returner.
I was going to say,
but
put
now
some respect on the All-Pro.
Berrios is a great wide receiver, and he's All-Pro kick returner.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And I thought Gunner had actually a pretty bad year. I don't know if it was 2 games ago, maybe it was versus Miami. He's like letting punts fall, and then they rolled to the 5-yard line that he should have caught. He had a fumble. Yeah, Gunner was not his great self this year.
That might be one of the biggest differences year over year is special teams. I thought last year you could argue their special teams was probably the best part of the team. This year, outside of Nick Folk, they stunk. Well, what's his name? Jake Bailey stunk.
Terrible.
Yeah, returners stunk. We had N'Keal Harry catching a punt, for Christ's sakes. It was just a nightmare.
I want Joe Judge back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Whatever. Why not?
Right? Like he's a terrible head coach, but he's a fantastic special teams coach for us.
One of the biggest
terrible head coach.
Awful.
Just the worst.
Those guys hated him. They were retired.
Oh, they couldn't stand him. It was like a substitute teacher. He was hopeless from training camp.
I can't remember if you mentioned this, Nick, on Not Here to Argue, but I'm sure you guys heard that clip of him talking about in a press conference. He was like
lying. Yeah.
Straight up lying through his fucking teeth, where he was just like, there's plenty of guys in this locker room who have told me that they would rather take less money to stay here than go make way more money playing for somewhere else. And that's the kind of culture that we're creating here in fucking
New England. I mean, New York.
Yeah. My extremely hot girlfriend lives in Canada. You wouldn't know her.
Yeah. She goes to a different school.
Oh, wait. Another good segue. You can tell Nick's in the business. You tweeted the other day that it was the anniversary of Manti Te'o.
Oh yeah, Daddy. Great.
Can we talk about that a little bit and just our general feelings, and also the fact that was, I want to say it's the 10-year anniversary, something like that. It makes me feel old as fuck. Like I know I'm washed up, but that was like another confirmation.
It's weird thinking about how big a story that was.
Mm-hmm.
It was earth-shattering. Like I
made it to 60 minutes.
Like I interrupted my politics in the Middle East class to tell the whole class, like raised my hand. I was like, professor, like I have to say something. You guys know Manti Te'o. His girlfriend, Lene Kakua, doesn't exist. And everyone was floored.
What the hell did you just say to me?
But yeah, I don't know. It's so crazy. I mean, that's when catfishing became such a big thing. Then we got the great movie from that guy Neve, and then he had
Neve Schulman or something. Great show.
Yeah,
shout out Catfish.
And then the MTV show. But yeah, it was so crazy. I bet on Notre Dame +10 in that national championship game. They lost by 1 million.
Ah, geez, tough one. So that was before Catfish. Like that Manti Te'o broke before the Catfish. Like,
I believe
became mainstream.
That was before Catfish. Yeah.
That's why it was so bizarre. Because I remember
online dating wasn't even big at this time. Instagram didn't exist at this time. Or if it did, it had just launched.
Yeah, the thought of like just fake people on the internet wasn't really a thing anymore. Maybe fake people on the internet was like pedophiles and like fucking what's that show with like Dateline and stuff like that. How to Catch a Predator.
Catch a Predator.
Yeah.
Just being a fake person and like having a relationship via, I guess, texting, and maybe they did the fake voice thing. I don't know how serious it was. I remember it took me a while to comprehend what happened. I didn't get it. Like it like the wires didn't cross in my brain. Like, what do you mean? Until it really came out. But yeah, that's a good one. That screenshot of Mark Schlereth on ESPN is so good. Just floored
And
ready to break this news.
And she faked her, or it was a guy. I think it turned out being a guy who knew Manti in high school, I think.
Yeah, it's always like a weird, like petty, like some petty like feud from 10 years ago.
And he faked her death or whatever. And Manti Te'o, I feel like he was like at the national championship game, like crying about his girlfriend who died. Like it was a story, like he's like playing for her or some shit like that. Like I forget the details. But
maybe that's why you put some shekels on the game. Manti Te'o's a motivated man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So funny.
I'm saying imagine because I don't remember, but it would be funny if there was an interview where he was like, as sad as I am, she would have wanted me to play.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm out here for her. She would have wanted to see me happy.
He had a decent NFL career.
Yeah. I was just gonna actually ask. Did you go to the Chargers?
Saints and Chargers, I think,
Saints
was the most
I remember
of his career. I think he was in the league as recently as like last year.
No way, really?
I think
I didn't know that.
I could be totally wrong. I'm looking it up right now.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I didn't see his over under on tackles for loss on Underdog.
He played in 2019.
You think he lists that on his You think he lists that on his dating apps? Yeah, just his like football stats.
I think he's done with the apps.
Probably. Yeah, I would be a little sour towards the apps. I was trying to think like what are some other, because you're right, that was like a sports story that broke the third wall or whatever you want to call it to go into like a national story. It's probably that, like there were more serious ones like Lance Armstrong and stuff, but I was just trying to think like funny sports stories that like broke the internet for like a few days.
I mean,
like the Warriors 3-1, I remember. Clippers losing a couple of years ago. What were you gonna say, Nick?
Stuff seriously, but I find Rodgers and Kyrie to be pretty funny.
At this point, it's just theater. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's entertaining. At first, it was kind of, I don't know if I want to say frustrating, but it was just like,
it's kind of fucked up.
Like, who are you trying to pull? That's what I mean. Like, you're being an asshole. Like when you're doing this, and I think Rodgers is different because Kyrie knows exactly what he's doing, and that's fine. I can respect that. Rodgers was like getting pissed for people to like bring it up, and it's like, well, it's my personal business. It's like, bro, this is literally the most polarizing subject of the last 50 years. Like, you know exactly what you're doing.
That's what kind of pissed me off. He just wants to go on Joe Rogan.
Can't wait. Yeah. He wants to sit with just Pat McAfee all day and just talk about cancel culture.
He wants to be Joe Rogan's physician's assistant.
Actually, not like we talked about this, I think somewhat recently. The rumors about like Jeopardy and just like doing something so unrelated to football make a lot of sense now. And I still think that was a weird gig to turn down. Depending on what like the money looked like at his age, you could probably argue there's a good chance he might not win another Super Bowl just because it's a competitive league right now. You could probably sail off and host Jeopardy for 40 years and make less per year, but you'll make it for 40 years and you won't get CTE most likely.
I think he's enjoying being the villain, and
he loves
he's still playing so damn well. He was MVP last year. He could be MVP this year.
Yep.
I used to work at Jay Glazer's gym in LA, which is like exclusively sort of like celebrities and pro athletes. And he was by far the most serious and hardest working guy that ever came in there.
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, not even close.
Oh, wow.
Everyone else is fucking off doing whatever. Like, if you bring him like a sports drink or like a protein shake, he's like, bring me the label. Like, I'm reading this whole thing. Like, I'm not going to fucking pop on some test because you don't know what you're doing.
Wow.
He was always there with Nick Jonas. He's like boys with Nick Jonas.
That makes sense. Yep. Not here to argue about that. That's hilarious.
Wait.
Yeah, that's interesting. I get it. Like, he's an elite level athlete, like no shit, but that's not the name you'd associate that with. Because then Brady's just a psychopath with that stuff. Probably like 10x whatever Aaron Rodgers did.
Yeah, I've been to
slit the throat of someone who like offered him like a tomato slice on like his
I was at the TB12 facility in Boston when Tom was there, and I met Guerrero. But Tom was behind a partition. I didn't get to see him.
Coward. Guerrero's tiny, isn't he? Isn't he a small guy?
Yeah, he wasn't. I guess he wasn't so small. I did get that vibe as well. Incredibly nice, like a politician, like glowing.
One thing I took away from Yeah, I take away that from the Antonio Brown leaked text message. For like as much like controversy as that got,
What was AB mad about? The guy
100%.
He's
He
like,
literally couldn't have been a sweeter guy. Here's half your money, and big hugs, like whatever he said. Like,
yeah, he was like, hugs, you're the best ever.
and yeah,
which I don't think anyone has ever
blast.
said to Antonio Brown.
Yeah, like look at this asshole, and it's like, what else do you want? Like he literally caved in, not even caved in. He offered to do exactly what you asked him, and on top of that, he's very polite about it. And then you put on your routing and account number as well, and for some reason tweeted that out. That was a good day on Twitter. That weekend was up there. AB from the day AB left, like the next 48 hours was really fun because one of my favorite
gate was amazing too.
Okay, so I know we got to get you out of here, but I'm glad you mentioned that. Every time AB does something like this, the best part of it reminds you of all the other crazy stuff that you totally forgot about. Like he was not going to play football because he couldn't wear the helmet he wanted. And he burned his feet, and like the whole video of him like being released from the Raiders and like dancing out in his backyard, farting in his trainer's face. Like it's just there's always
that
one
video
I
has
forget.
Resurfaced.
So crazy.
And as much of an asshole as he is, the video is funny. I couldn't watch it without laughing because it wasn't like, obviously
it's
it was
shenanigans.
On purpose, but it was like two forced out farts. Like he pushed them out so hard, and the doctor just had to be like, "Oh, I can't even, dude." I watched it so many times I can memorize like what the doctor said. He's like applying some gel and trying to read his stomach or his chest, and he's like, "Oh wow, you're so like lean here that we can't even get a reading." And then AB's just like,
like,
sorry,
dude,
sorry,
you're
doc.
such a child. Yeah,
I'm embarrassed.
So childish.
I'm actually not embarrassed at how long I went to bat for AB for. I still kind of like him. He's like Rod Tidwell. He's like the perfect diva wide receiver.
Yeah. But there's like a couple asterisks. One of them being he's very good. Like he's really, really good. And he was a difference maker on a Super Bowl winning team last year.
I have him extremely
That's crazy.
high on my all-time wide receiver list.
How high?
Like flirting with number 3.
Behind Rice
Brady
and
Moss
Moss?
number 1.
Okay.
T.O. number 2.
Oh, now we're talking my language.
Okay, then the rest is fine with me. I don't even have to hear the rest.
And then Calvin Johnson didn't do it long enough. I have AB quite high up there. I guess you have to start talking about Jerry Rice eventually, but
AB's 2010s, I think, were uncomparable because Calvin only played half the time. Like it was every year he was the guy. It's even from a fantasy perspective, he was. I think it seems like especially for season long leagues, it seems like every year there's a new person who's like the no brainer. You have to like McCaffrey this year. Like you have to take this guy number 1. It was Saquon one year maybe. It was Antonio Brown like 4 or 5 years. He was on the cover of all the magazines, Madden. You couldn't justify not taking him because in PPR he could get 20 points easily because he's going to get 10 catches and 100 yards before he even scores. Yeah, he was with Godwin got hurt and Brady hates Mike Evans and Gronk is old. He's probably your best reliable weapon. And then, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and he's out of here. But I think that might hurt him in the playoffs. You still think Bucs win? I guess I do too, but it's like you need Mike Evans, so I guess keep playing like he played last weekend.
Yep.
Have 100 yards and score.
I mean, he's good. Like he's not like I don't find him a very like sexy, cool player. I don't like his look. I didn't like his look at Texas A&M either. His tattoos aren't cool. Too many stars.
What does he have? He has like a matching like bicep tattoo, right?
He has like some red. He has like some red
symmetrical.
Stars.
Yeah, okay.
Just aren't. I got some bad tattoos too, but I don't like Mike Evans.
Actually, why do people think that Brady doesn't like him?
I don't know. I just heard that, so I assume it's true. I heard it on Boston.
No, I hear it plenty, and I don't. What's like any thoughts, Nick?
No, I have never heard that. I wouldn't hate the interpretation from like a stats perspective. Like he clearly prefers to throw it to Godwin, AB, or Gronk.
Mm-hmm.
They're all hurt all the time. Or out of
he still had 1,000 yards. He still had a really good year.
He's still balling out of control. Evans. Yeah,
exactly. Same as last year.
They were talking about it on Tyler's show, I think yesterday. I think he's the only guy. He's had 1,000 yards every year, 7 or 8 years since he's been drafted, and he's had some bad ball throwers. He had like bad Jameis,
Luke
McCown. He had Johnny Manziel in college, who would just
Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon was up there.
And then Mike Evans should go to the Hall of Fame.
Fitzmagic, was he ever thrown to him?
Probably, yeah. He had Jameis pre-eye surgery. Like he had some estranged people throwing him balls, and he seemed to catch a lot of them.
He could have like a Matt Stafford style career where he has like insane counting stats while just being like pretty good.
I think he's good. I mean, I think like Hall of Fame conversation is fun. Everyone like does it. I don't think it's a bad thing to, after like 4 or 5 years, say this guy's probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. Like Mike Evans has a good chance. A lot of it happens in basketball all the time. Like all time people, when Giannis won last year, they're like, well, you know, he's still so young, this and that. Giannis is probably going to be a top 10 player of all time. Like it's not, why wouldn't you say that? Like it's silly not to. Like Brady is clearly the best player of all time.
You know who's my favorite sleeper NFL Hall of Fame guy? Is Cordero Patterson.
No way.
He's had a renaissance with
big renaissance.
Can I tell you
saved my team this year? Yeah, please.
Super Bowl champion with the Patriots.
Oh yeah.
4-time first team All-Pro, 3-time second team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I feel like the special teams guys are tough.
Pretty damn good. 7 years All-Pro. And now he's balling on offense.
Now he's a good running back. Yeah. Whatever the hell.
He's one of the greatest special teams players of all time. Like if people want Devin Hester in, and I love Devin Hester. Like I'm a U Miami guy. I love Devin Hester. Cordero Patterson on paper is just better than Devin Hester. He doesn't have the kick return touchdowns. He's 30.
He's kind of playing like Debo now.
Yeah.
In terms of style.
Yeah, that's fair. How old is Cordero Patterson? He's been what, 30. Like 7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
The Patriots traded away the Cordero Patterson draft pick, and we got back Jamie Collins and LeGarrette Blount.
Okay.
I mean, LeGarrette Blount had like 18 touchdowns. We won a
Super Bowl champion difference maker. I'll take that.
And then we got Cordero back, figured out how to use him as a wide receiver, and won a Super Bowl with it. So pretty well managed Cordero Patterson career for Belichick.
That's a sneaky one. I'm trying to like who are the guys that are in the Hall of Fame that are like
I don't think there's any comparable special teams players in the Hall of Fame.
Devin Hester's
but that's
probably
because
the only
like
one.
back, I don't know, 15 years ago, guys like just weren't this athletic like Devin Hester and Cordero Patterson.
That's true. It's almost kind of like the NBA. It's shifting towards more like positionless offense. Like Debo's a great example. Cordero Patterson, Le'Veon Bell, McCaffrey, whatever. Yeah. Well, we'll let you get out of here, Nick. Sorry we took so much of your time.
No, thank you. This is fun.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Before we let you go, again, where's the best place to find you on Twitter, Underdog, whatever else you think people should be following as they should?
The Nick Rudman, Underdog Fantasy. Subscribe to the Trill Withers Show, YouTube. That's it. Those are my plugs.
Okay, that's it. Cool, man. We'd love to have you back sometime. If you're give our people some money. Who's a little sneaky value pick on maybe like a pick 'em or one of the games this week, since you've personally set all the over-unders.
Yeah.
This afternoon.
I'm taking Brady over no matter what. I just don't think the Rams are that good.
Yeah.
And Debo over. I think what you said, I think is exactly right. That's why I think the Bucs win the Super Bowl. I think the Niners are going to upset the Packers.
I'd love that.
And then
Brady Garoppolo NFC Championship
would be very fun. The Rams look whatever, like they beat this terrible Cardinals team. Yeah. And Brady gets lucky with the Niners not being so amazing.
Yeah.
And then he has to go beat Mahomes or Josh Allen.
I might have to mute Boston radio if it's a Garoppolo Brady.
Boston radio should
NFC
be abolished.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cut his mic. There's all our sponsors. No, I'm with you. All right, man.
Over Brady, over Debo.
Over Brady, over Debo. Take it to the bank. And if we lose, all the money goes in your pocket. So how can we really trust you?
That's underdog.com/Morse code podcast. $10 off your first deposit.
Yeah. Nick will 10 times match your initial deposit if you use product code.
With his own cash, take a picture of himself.
Nonetheless, yeah. All right. Nick, thanks again, man. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.